Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Every year in my life, there comes a time for me to do what I call my conclave moment. And this is it. This is when I enter the arena of ideas and ideals with all of you. And I must say, I look forward to it. So here I am again to welcome you to the 7th India Today Conclave. A very warm welcome to you from me. Thank you all for being here. Today I can say it with a greater sense of confidence and pride that in the calendar of ideas, the India Today Conclave has become a much anticipated event. It has become a place where concepts collide, arguments provoke, and ideas flourish. It brings together the best and brightest leaders and pioneers from every field of knowledge. It has become a project in tomorrow, sustained by India Today's faith in the transformative powers of a questioning mind. This year is no exception. We have a list of speakers who continue to breach the frontiers of their expertise. We have a program that I hope will challenge the dead certainties of politics, business, science, spirituality, and entertainment, that will engage your intellect and enrich your perception. Together, we have come a long way. As I look back, I realize it has been a journey in history. And history, as I said last year, seems to have entered into a secret covenant with the conclave. For me, and I'm sure for everyone who's been here before, it has been a journey that has made us wiser and a lot more optimistic. It began 6 years ago in the aftermath of 9/11, when the politics of fear ruled the world and the politics of hate divided it. It was a rude awakening from the post-Cold War stupor. In retrospect, it provided a historical backdrop to the first India Today Conclave. It is an understatement to say that the world has changed drastically since then. It is an altogether different matter whether our leadership has changed in equal measure to deal with this world. If Afghanistan set the stage for war on terror, Iraq became the first fully fledged battleground of the 21st century. Today, though it is a battleground where the initial idealism of an Iraq without Saddam Hussein is being replaced by a sense of moral cynicism. Today, the debate is more about the liberator and least about the liberated. At home, too, it has not been a placid period. The first conclave was held at a time when India's first right-wing government was in power, and it looked invincible with the country's most popular politician. Few guessed an India Shining slogan would undo India's romance with the right, and the Congress, propped by the left, returned to power. Fortunately, oblivious of the leadership changes, the Indian economy continues to roll on the fast track. And in an age of globalization, India, as a financial destination, remains very much in vogue. As any global rich list will vindicate, India is fast emerging as the most fertile land of billionaires, as it is of the dispossessed as well, I must add. A volatile politics and a robust economy are matched by an outward-looking foreign policy. India, though rather belatedly, began to break out of its mindset of third worldism. Its engagement with the world has sought to strike a balance between national interest and international responsibility. It is a welcome change. Sadly, India has still home to the last custodians of a fossilized ideology, and they have the power to hold the government to ransom in the name of anti-imperialism. The last ism of desperate revolutionaries who have nothing at stake except a few borrowed slogans. But well, that's Indian democracy. It's large enough to accommodate the capitalist and the commissar. In the first 5 conclaves, we captured the spirit of a nation that was undergoing immense political and economic churning. We identified opportunities, exposed fault lines, celebrated potentials, and offered a blueprint for tomorrow. On the stage were some of the finest minds, heads of states and CEOs, statesmen and scientists, Nobel laureates and other icons. An ideal India emerged out of this carnival of ideas. Last year, we widened the horizon, so to speak. We went global. Maybe we had no choice but to keep pace with the new India. So our theme was Challenges for the Brave New World. In the end, it was about a brave new India as well. Once the challenges of the brave new world have been grappled with, you may well ask, what's next? Well, we have taken the argument further in the theme of the 7th conclave, leadership for the 21st century. I believe our theme, as in the past, reads the pulse of the times. One issue that concentrates the global mind at the moment, I'm sure you'll agree, is the issue of leadership. As we all know, a thrilling leadership battle is being played out in the world's most influential democracy. We need only to look at the Democratic primaries in America to get some pointers what different leaders are offering. The defining words on the stump are words like change versus continuity, hope versus experience, dream versus reality, freedom versus security, privilege versus entitlement. We need only to look at President George Bush's moral adventurism to realize how his post-9/11 leadership has divided the public opinion at home and abroad, and how it has set the stage for a new debate on America's place in the world, on war, on freedom, and national sovereignty. Let me quote Barack Obama, the freshman senator who wants to become the next president of the United States. He says, "This century's threats are at least as dangerous as in some ways more complex than those we have confronted in the past. Those threats demand a new vision of leadership in the 21st century, a vision that draws from the past but is not bound by the outdated thinking." And that's the operational word, outdated thinking. The new century demands a new approach from our leadership class. The awareness is apparent in countries that have undergone a change of guard recently. Nicolas Sarkozy in post-Chirac France is known not only for his bling-bling presidency or his romantic conquests. As a bold reformer, he has targeted the many privileges of the welfare state. In the United Kingdom, after a superb beginning, the man who inherited the mantle from Tony Blair is desperately trying to halt the rising popularity of his young conservative challenger. Even in Russia, the strong leader had to make a kind of democratic gesture by anointing a successor, although there is no dispute who holds the real power. Even in the People's Republic of China, where changes are not that dramatic and faces don't fade out that easily, still, we can't miss a gradual generational change shift happening in the higher echelons of the country. And the leadership is getting more sensitive to the public sentiment. That is a big change in China. Leadership is the issue that resonates across India's borders too. In Pakistan, particularly today, even in a bonsai democracy, democracy is an ideal worth fighting for and worth dying for too. Benazir Bhutto, the gala dinner speaker at the last conclave, promised she would return if elected Prime Minister. She told us, "I am committed to bringing peace between our two countries. We cannot fail our children." Sadly, she was denied a chance. Her homecoming came to an abrupt and tragic end. It was an unsolicited martyrdom in a merciless land where hate settled the argument on leadership. We will miss her. Next door, as Nepal prepares for a post-monarchy era, the question is all about the alternative. Is a Maoist Nepal The ideal in this century, the question has to be answered democratically, not the revolutionary way. India too will soon decide who should be leading the nation next. In the true Indian tradition, the general elections would be a referendum on the competing ideas of India. The much celebrated India of a million possibilities requires a leadership whose gaze extends beyond the expediencies of short-term politics. We need a leadership which is bold, energetic, impatient, and willing to shed the burdens of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, the last century was a grand narrative of extreme passions. Its history was shaped by revolutions, liberations, and exterminations. Nations were born, built, and subjugated. It was an age of leaders larger than life, leaders with a capital L. The most messianic of them promised heaven on earth and gave hell. There were revolutionaries, freedom fighters, nation builders, mass murderers, and warmongers. They were a formidable lot, driven by dreams and fantasy, idealism and ideology. Gandhi, Lenin, Mao, Hitler, Stalin, Churchill, de Gaulle, Truman, Kennedy, Reagan, Thatcher, Mrs. Gandhi, Gorbachev, I could go on and on. We're yet to outlive their legacies, for better or for worse. We're still in the glow of the 21st century, and the challenges it illuminates are no less intimidating. They are more than political and economic. They are cultural, digital, ecological, religious, scientific, and ethical. The new century needs a leadership that is not subordinated to ideology, but ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, the next 2 days will give us an idea about what it takes to be a leader for the new century. It will be provided by speakers who continue to redefine leadership in accordance with the spirit of the times. Among them, we'll have a former President of America who was the best of his generation and who may return to the White House as the first spouse. As an apostle of humanitarianism, he's a global leader nevertheless. A former American vice president who almost became president. Many say he should have. Nobel laureate and eco-warrior, he has shown that you don't have to be the leader of the free world to lead the fight for a better planet. A scientist who plays God, the tallest politician from the Indian right, and who could be the next Prime Minister. A spiritual leader who defies the stereotype. A superstar with a conscience, the fourth richest man in the world, and many more who are not prisoners of the past. It is said that every nation gets the leader it deserves. I am pleased with the leaders this conclave has brought together. We deserve them, and I hope you enjoy them. Thank you.